Remember the old NBA drama? I don't know why, but there's something about a team hijacking a player during free agency that entertains me. Maybe it's from imagining Mark Cuban driving around Los Angeles while calling DeAndre Jordan, who, like the girl you like, doesn't answer you on Saturdays at 2 a.m. Undoubtedly one of the most bizarre stories in NBA history. But things are changing. Leaving aside the legal issues and players hooking up with porn stars, the drama of today's league is different. Basically, it boils down to stars who are unhappy with their current situation. A fact that's been going on for decades, but lately is wreaking havoc on the NBA like never before. Both from the point of view of the league's global player market, and from the point of view of some franchises that are left stranded, as if they'd suffered a natural disaster. And what's the reason? Well, player empowerment. The fact that players improve their labor rights doesn't have to be a bad thing, because this is precisely what can end up generating lockout situations in which neither the players nor the fans are interested. But there are certain names in the league that are getting out of hand right now. Certain names that, using their legacy and market value, have decided to skip their employment contracts in search of a better situation. There was a time when it looked like James Harden was going to retire in Houston. The Beard had become the emblem of a team that fully embraced his game and tried to surround its star by mortgaging many assets going forward. A situation from which, to even this day, they've not fully recovered. But the truth is that the Rockets came really close to achieving the impossible in defeating the unstoppable Golden State Warriors. However, there was a moment when everything changed. Daryl Morey left the Texan franchise because there wasn't much juice left to squeeze, which ended up causing a discontent of James Harden, who now had his eyes set on New York. The Knicks would not be his favorite destination, but the Brooklyn Nets, a team that already had in its roster two great players and good friends of James in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. So the shooting guard forced his way out of Houston to create one of the most powerful big threes that basketball had ever seen, joined by veterans and former stars like LaMarcus Aldridge or Blake Griffin. But what Harden didn't know is that the three superstars would only play 16 games as a unit before ending their time together. An unfortunate outcome for a team that aspired to create a dynasty, but between injuries and antics of some of its stars, they weren't even close. The Beard was the first to jump ship, asking for a trade that ended up taking him to the Philadelphia 76ers during the last year of his contract. James would form a theoretically unstoppable pairing with Joel Embiid, whom he helped earn MVP honors the following regular season. But after 2 second-round playoff failures in 2 consecutive seasons, and not being on the same page as Sixers management, he made a bit of a strange decision. Harden accepted a player option that tied him to the Philly team for another year, but only with the intention of being traded. Daryl Morey was facing another breakup with his platonic love.
Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of.
Having experienced a similar situation with Ben Simmons 2 years earlier. And this has been James Harden's way of forcing the third departure from a franchise over the past 3 seasons. Harden, after being dealt to the LA Clippers to team up with future Hall of Famers like Kawhi, PG, and Russ, has gotten off to a really rough start. Is this ethical? Well, that's a very good question. While the rant by some Harden haters may have gone viral,
they never thought to be self-aware enough that they're the bad roommate, they're the problem. Hey James, you're the problem.
The truth is that we have no idea of the inside details of James's life, nor the conversations that may have led to these disagreements with all the franchises he's played for. In the case of the Thunder, it wasn't his fault, as they didn't pay him what he deserved. But the funny thing is that the rest of the franchises have not ended up so badly with the change. The Nets have done an almost instantaneous rebuild with what they received from the trades, and this season they'll fight for the playoffs. And the Sixers, they seem to have been touched by a wand, plus the absence of Harden has led to the increased responsibilities of a Maxey who looks stellar. But you know what? Only a player like James Harden can do that. So sorry, 90% of the NBA, you guys can't demand anything. Look at the example of Furkan Korkmaz, who on as many as 3 occasions has asked Sixers management for a trade and still hasn't got it. And what does this have to do with Harden? Well, precisely Harden's 2 teammates in Brooklyn have experienced very tortuous paths over the past few seasons. After Kevin Durant left the Oklahoma City Thunder with nothing in return to go to the team that eliminated them, their reputation in the league has completely changed. Maybe his bitter version with the press.
How are you playing? How's the team playing in the last couple weeks?
I'm done. You know you don't care about that.
And on social media had an influence, but he's become a villain with LeBron 2010 vibes. Just 2 seasons after arriving, KD asked for another trade, this time ending up with the Phoenix Suns. For his part, Kyrie Irving's experienced even more chaotic situations. Sean Marks and the point guard had differences over a certain Amazon documentary, and the NBA had differences with the Australian-born player over the COVID vaccine. Two events that caused a long absence of Irving on the court, and according to many rumors were the straw that broke the camel's back for Harden's departure. Practically at the same time as Durant, Kyrie forced his way out of the Nets to end up with the Dallas Mavericks. But it turns out that in the NBA, there are more divas than in the WWE. The case of Ben Simmons, a player who had not shown much in the league, was even more shocking. A player who was not even the first offensive option of the Sixers, and in fact at the time neither the second nor probably the third, sitting out without playing despite having a contract with that franchise. Ben didn't even have the decency to go out on the court and play poorly, lower his market value, and cause the Sixers to trade him without much delay. No, Ben sat out and just didn't play. But did you notice something? Not one team we've talked about has managed to make noise in the playoffs. None of them. Or at least not so far. Not Brooklyn, not Dallas, not Philadelphia, not Phoenix. None. The real NBA doesn't work like 2K's My GM mode. Putting together 3 stars, or even 4, doesn't guarantee anything. Not even the Miami Heat, with prime LeBron James, prime Dwayne Wade, and prime Chris Bosh, managed to win the title in their first season. Out of the 4 seasons they played together, they only won 2. Like Kevin Durant's Warriors, who also won 2. But that team was already naturally built before his arrival, having lifted the Larry O'Brien in 2015. In basketball, and not just talking about the NBA, there's a very important concept called team culture. An aspect that takes a long time to build, a lot of trial and error, and probably a lot of failed experiments. Of the rosters of recent NBA champions in most cases, the best players have been developed by the franchise itself. Jokic and Murray's Nuggets, Steph, Dre, and Clay's Warriors, Giannis and Middleton's Bucks. There are some exceptions, of course, like the bubble Lakers ring, but if we do a recap of the last 25 years of NBA history, you'll see I'm right. Dirk Nowitzki stayed in Dallas for 13 seasons until finally winning the ring with the Mavericks. Kobe had won 3 championships at the age of 23 and had to wait another 7 seasons to get his 4th. There were trade rumors in between, drama in between, but the player and the franchise stayed true to the culture of the franchise. Giannis took 9 seasons to win a ring in Milwaukee. Jokic took 7 seasons to do it with Denver. In short, it's not an easy job. NBA GMs are waking up. It has to be very tempting to know you can bring a superstar to your team, I get that. You can let everyone know that you made the trade that can change the course of the franchise. But the truth is that it doesn't usually work out. The league's approach to perfection is getting to a point where winning teams have been working for years to get to that place. Accelerating the building processes is very complicated, and also very risky. You run the risk of your new stars adapting the locker room to their needs instead of the needs of the team or coaching staff. And you also run the risk of chemistry going down the drain. Just as it's a blessing for you that a superstar's decided to take on a battle against his team and you're the beneficiary, you need to know that tomorrow, you may be the victim. So, if you're one of the 30 NBA GMs watching this video, beware.